Welcome on this beautiful Sunday afternoon to the Spiritual Society of Virginia. And as most of us all know, we start each meeting with an initial reading. This one is from our Daily Bread through the authorship of Emmanuel and given to us by Chico Javier through his mediumship. And it's number 101, entitled Resist Temptation. Jesus is quoted in chapter 1, verse 12 by James. Blessed is the man who endures temptation. As our spiritual ship sails through the waters of inferiority, we are not immune to severe inner conflicts, especially in the physical realm. Whenever we undertake the improvement of our soul by making use of the work and obstacles presented by the world, we can expect an increase in the difficulties that confront us on the path of illuminated knowledge. Against our yearnings for enlightenment, we are faced with past millennia of darkness. Opposing our most humble aspirations to grow in the good, there are centuries in which we took pleasure in evil. Hence, amongst the blessings from on high, temptations of all sorts abound on the disciples' path. At times, disciples believe they are well prepared to slay the dragons of malignity that prowl about their doors. However, when they least expect it, the grating suggestions pounce on them again and drive them into the challenging battle. Therefore, it is obvious that not even the grave can exonerate us from our duels with the darkness, because its roots extend into the very organization of our spirit. Only the death of our inner imperfections can lead us from them, or can free us from them. So, constructive tolerance should envelop the human pathway, because evil insinuations are going to encircle us roundabout as long as we linger on our partial accomplishment of the good. We will achieve freedom only when we attain full enlightenment. Understanding the transcendent importance of this fact, the apostle states, "Blessed is the man who endures temptation." At the present time, any reference to complete triumph is impossible, because we are still so far from the angelic state. However, we will be blessed if we endure well these types of struggles and control the impulses of undeveloped sentiments, perfecting them little by little at the cost of our personal effort, so that we may not give in defenselessly to the inferior suggestions that seek to turn us into living instruments of evil. Well, resist temptation, and we must endure temptations. We will achieve freedom only when we attain full enlightenment. And it is a difficult struggle because of the fact that so much of these obstacles are placed in our way, and materialism being one of them, to keep us off of the path. But there was a radio program I listened to yesterday. It was called it's on national NPR, WAMU, called Wait a Minute. And it was about this beautiful gentleman. He's an actor. You may know him. I didn't know about him. His name is Coleman Domenico. And his mother was so responsible for how he brings love into everything he does. And I think it's a great example of how we can overcome any temptation if we come from a state of love. And of course, what did Christ exemplify to us but love? It didn't matter who he interacted with. It was always coming from a non-judgmental and a loving standpoint. And we just have to bring ourselves into frequency and amplitude of love all the time. Everything we do has to stem forth from love. And of course, it's not the easiest thing to learn and to implement, but as we know in Spiritism, with effort and repetition, we can bring love into everything that we do. That's love.
There you go.
Love is per excellence.
There you go. Synchronicity. Friends, let us begin with our prayer. After this message, we are ready to take on this journey of therapy for the mind and the bodies. Dear Lord of life, as we breathe, we think of you. We wouldn't be here were it not for your sustenance of our lives. You are everywhere with everyone at all times. We are safe in your embrace. There is no place, no time, no being where we cannot find you. May we seek your presence. And find the comfort in your harmony within us. We want to thank you for bringing us together today. Feeling this unity amongst ourselves and the certainty that we are your beloved children whom you care for in details we cannot even see. May today be an opportunity to strengthen ourselves as we make the decision to participate this morning in your banquet of light. We want to be mindful, fully present, while our loved ones in two realms are also being assisted by the spirit doctors, nurses, and therapists. Feeling gratitude, we thank you for the opportunity of granting us the permission to begin this therapeutic session, and so be it. Ms. Luciana will take the children for a very good lesson with Ben Franklin. Yes. Meanwhile, we'll be here with Jesus. Jesus and Ben Franklin teaming up here and there. Yes. Today our topic changed a bit for reasons only God knows. Blessed is the person who endures temptation. And temptation, people think of 10,000 things, but the main thing, the inner conflict. We all have our torments because our tormented minds are full of jealousy, envy, spite, competition, misunderstanding. But the minute the light of the truth sheds some of its rays onto our torments, we start inner conflicts. And then in these inner conflicts, we are in the crossroads of life. But let us talk a little bit before the conflicts. What generates conflicts? It's the chemical reaction between torments and the encounter with the truth. What are our torments? It's when we think we're better than our family members. That's a torment. We think, oh, they're not spiritists. They're not charitable. It's a torment. Because we think we're better than them. If we were, we wouldn't be feeling that towards them. It's when we enter our workplace and we think we're better than the boss. Because we have better ideas. We always think, right, that we have better ideas. But if we put ourselves in the shoes of the boss, we would love to have employees who would be loyal and honest to us. But we're not loyal and honest to them. Torments. It's when we look at somebody who bought a new car and we go home thinking, I should buy a new car too. That's a torment. Very common in our society. Torments are so normal and common on earth. You go to the movie theater and you watch the movie Elvis. If you haven't, go watch it. First, because it's history. Especially for us who are in America, it's a big part of our American history. It's about many things, but it's about us. We can see much of us in him, tormented, surrendered to the temptations of the world. And people who seem to be our friends, our managers, our employers, at the end of the day, all they want is the money in their pocket through us, just like what they did to Elvis. And at the end of the day, where's Elvis? Dead at 42. 42. Who is responsible for it? Many people. Not only him. But Vanessa, I'm not Elvis. I'm not famous. I'm not a good singer. I don't have these extraordinary abilities. He's certainly a genius in music in so many ways. And he had a role, socially speaking, at a time in which our country was still segregated. And he was being a force to uniting what many wanted to keep apart. He had a social role. I don't want to be simplistic in reducing the greatness of this piece of American history to a few sentences, but taking his example for us. Maybe we're not great as a singer or whatever, but we have a role in our families. We have our influence. We're influencers. Whether we want to disappear in life or not, we're influencing our society. Every day. The people who are with us in our families, at work, they look at us as a reference, even if they don't take us for the model in their lives. We say, we're just a colleague at work that says, oh, I'm going to Hawaii next month. And that's already influencing everybody. People go home and think, oh, goodness, Vanessa is going to Hawaii next month. Should we do the same? But why do you contemplate something that belongs to somebody else, not us? Well, they need to go to Hawaii. Not necessarily we do too. But this is how we are. People say, we can do this, and we think we should do it. We can do that, we should do it. And where's moderation? So when we watch the movie, we see the lack of moderation. We see the lack of discipline. And then we go to Chico Xavier, take a plane from the US all the way to Brazil, when one of the historians in Brazil, named John Harley, believe it or not, he's retired, but he used to be faculty at the university in Brazil, but he studied and knew Chico Xavier very closely. And he said, I loved Elvis. And once I asked Chico, where is Elvis now? Because we know he didn't die. Literally. Elvis didn't die. And Chico Xavier said, I have no idea. He knew about 10,000 people, but Chico. We knew even about Marilyn Monroe, but nothing about Chico, about Elvis. But the question is, does it matter to us? It matters if we fall prey to the temptations of the world. But let us talk about the temptations. Because the biggest of them all was fulfilled by Judas. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Because at the end of the day, where is the light of the truth? Where is our north? We think our north is in the mirror when we look at ourselves in the mirror. Me. My decision, my life. And that's why we are so weak. Because it's not about my decision in my life. My life is not mine, beginning. It's not mine. So much so that I have zero control of what happens. Zero in the sense I can maintain my physical life as much as I can, my emotional life, spiritual life. But the day the on high comes and says, this is it, Vanessa, come back to the spiritual realm full time. Because we go there when we go to sleep. Every night. But then we'll go back full time. The death of the body at our discarnation. I don't sustain my life. There are children who look so youthful, and God says, time is up. How many parents receive letters from Chico Xavier consoling them of the inconsolable for some, the death of their children? It happens. We have no control. Who has the control? Nobody, because God is not a who. God is the supreme intelligence. And He assigned a guiding model for us, which is not in the mirror when we look at ourselves in the mirror. It's Jesus. So on earth, He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. If I want to lead my life to the right direction, I have one way, one truth, and one life to follow. Jesus. What about the other masters? They were sent by Jesus. So of course, there is universal truth. And yet, am I making those decisions based on the model? Let's go back to our families. We're tired. And our child wants another glass of water. You know the story. You put them to sleep and they're like, oh, I'm thirsty. Oh, I'm still hungry. Oh, my belly, I need to go to the restroom. It's like, it takes forever, right? It's the very story. And then we're like tired. We say, oh my gosh, what would Jesus do? Would Jesus at that moment do what we do? Disregard? No. He would be patient. Not that he would do whatever the child wants, but would be patient and kind and love, not dismissive. Because science shows that not validating the child's needs has long-term consequences in their emotional well-being. When our parents, when we were little, were dismissive, they made a mistake. We cannot repeat it. Yes, I see you. Oh, you feel thirsty? You sure? Okay. So that's why we have saliva. See, it can help us. Think of a person in the desert. They don't have a faucet all the time or a bottle of water. Well, how about if we breathe and recharge? So we're seeing what the child is going through. We validate, and yet we educate. Of course, if needed, we stand up and we go there to pick up a glass of water. But the way we do it would make a difference. At work, we know something is in need of help. Some people, a project or something. But we feel like, I didn't do it. It's not my project. I shouldn't do it. What would Jesus do? He would go fishing with Peter and the disciples. Though he was not a fisherman, but he did go fishing. Even when Peter's mother-in-law, not even Jesus' mother or Peter's mother, Peter's mother-in-law came in the middle of a meeting and said, can you please come here and help? He stopped the meeting, Jesus, and went on helping her. I don't know what kind of help she needed, but he stopped a particularly important meeting. How will the world change if we don't change? Who will help change it? Why do we need people to be assassinated for the world to change? Why do we need people to be tragically wounded for the world to change? Because we, in our daily lives, we don't change. We don't resist the temptation of our laziness. We don't resist the temptation of our envy, of our spite, our need to be right, our need to compete, our need to prove and keep battling with people mind to mind. It's the worst battle we can lead, in the mind. At home. There are many people who get sick at home, not because of the neighbor, because of the very family members. In a Jesus passage that is in a book that is not in English yet, we know of a passage of a father who brings his daughter to Jesus, so he heals her. And Jesus asks the man, you do not accept her fully, do you? Because your wife comes from a different race. So you are not fully satisfied with your daughter, right? And the man was shocked because Jesus knew exactly what was happening inside of him. his torments. The prejudices we carry are torments. People were tormented by the color of the skin of people, tormented people, by nationalities. Yesterday, we stopped by the Museum of the Bible in DC, which is a place we should stop by because it's the history of all of us. 5 to 6 floors of history. There's one full exhibit about Washington Revelations. It's fun for children because it's multisensorial. You fly over Washington, D.C., finding out pieces of the Bible in the American buildings in D.C. and many more. And then we get to know of our history with God, written in a book that became a museum in DC, but it's the history of all of us. The prejudices that we carry inside of us of nationality, there was one sentence from the Bible that talked about when we are prejudiced against foreigners. So back to Jesus' story, so I can pass the word to Paloma. She's going to recap the story of all stories. Jesus talked to his father and said, you know why your daughter is sick? Because of your feelings towards her. Of course, Jesus couldn't explain when we read in Spiritism, vibrations, energies at the time. But he said, if you don't accept and love her fully and understand that she needs you, she won't heal. The temptations inside of us to feel that we're superior even to our loved ones. Parents feeling that they are superior to their children. What an illusion. They forgot that God gave them that child because they owe her or him a great deal. Life. Not only the flesh, life of the spirit. These are the temptations we need to resist and overcome. So now let us dive even more deeply into this by recapitulating and getting to know more about the behind the scenes of the temptation of all temptations to be greater than the master. Right? All right, dear friends. We're bringing a chapter from this book, Good News. The chapter that talks about Judas. Isn't that so interesting? The good news and bringing the chapter that we all know the story. What is the good news when we think of Judas? Well, there is one good news. We want to say that before we start, we don't have this book in English, but the good news is It is on the Spiritist magazine. So for all the friends, every single chapter is published. If we want to know the good news, go find the articles. It helps our lives. These are stories that you cannot find in the Bible. These are accounts by Humberto de Campos, bringing Jesus so close to us. In this very chapter, it's bringing Judas too. Because we tend to think that Judas is so far away from us. Oh, it's Judas. Judas' fault. Judas crucified Christ. Judas this and Judas that. And we do this every day, actually. We find many Judas around us to say that they are the cause of our pains, of our inflictions, of our issues, even when we get late somewhere. Simple, right? Oh, we're late. I'm so sorry because my boss held me back. We love that, right? It's like we blame somebody, even for us, we're late. Oh, my wife held me, or my children, or blah, blah, blah. Something so small, and we found somebody else to blame. And Jesus was so masterful that he brought in his 12 apostles different personalities, different conflicts, different issues to show to us that we are humans. There is Judas to tell us that each of us are humans. We're not angels. I think we agree on that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. Jesus didn't come with angels to help him. Can you imagine that? If everybody that came with Jesus was angels, we would never be able to understand what is the Christ consciousness. Instead, Jesus came with a team, Judas in there. So it's okay. So we're not going to study Judas as the one that is so far removed from us. Today, it's a case study on the Judas that is within us. What do we do every day that makes us make choices that are not aligned with the divine consciousness? And when we're not aligned, we are conflicted. Hopefully, we are conflicted. So even understanding conflict's okay. We are conflicted, and that's okay because now we know what's right and wrong. That's why there's a conflict. If we don't know what's right, then you do the wrong and you don't care. But today we know already. So I want us to imagine ourselves. It's a challenge. Imagine yourself as one of the people right there standing with Jesus. Jesus is coming in Jerusalem. Sunday. What we now know as Palm Sunday. We're one of the ones waving. The branches were clean. Jesus, Jesus, welcome. He had raised Lazarus from the dead. People were cheering the miracles. And we're one of them. We're not that far, friends. We were there. If we are spiritists today, we are recapping things that we did against Jesus before. Not only Judas. So we're there. And he arrived and was being greeted. Showers of flowers. And this is the account from Humberto de Campos. And we're now going to go deep in Judas' thoughts. And he was actually verbalizing them to James. We're not going to go through the whole dialogue. Why? Because you're supposed to read it, okay? Homework, we're not going to go through the whole dialogue. You need to go read the whole chapter on the Scriptures magazine, number 44. So Judas was very conflicted. They could see on his physical appearance that he wasn't doing well. He tells James, don't you think the master is too humble and good to break that tyrannical subjugation that weighs upon Israel to abolish the slavery that oppresses God's chosen people? Pause. We're going to take this one by one. Today, when we look somebody humble and good, do we think they are strong or weak? When we look at Chico Xavier, a lot of people would look at Chico Xavier, frail, small, not that opponent, strong. What we would think of Chico. Today we know Chico, but back then, when he was publishing these books, 1941, don't we think that people were saying the same thing as Judas talking about Jesus? Too weak. How is he going to do the good? Humble. There's nothing. He dresses kind of the same every day. I mean, Jesus had nothing. And Judas thought he knew better. Now, bring that back to us. Don't we go through that thought process? We look at somebody, we say, I can do better. And we come to the center sometimes and we say, why didn't Paloma say something else? I would have said it this way or that way. It happens. Our minds are so funny that they're constantly coming with these ideas. It happens to all of us. It is on us to change. But Judas was taking over with his thoughts. That's why it's called the illusion. In Spiritism, what do we know about illusion? We know fascination. What is fascination? It's a persistent thought, negative thought, to the point that you're so blind that you can't see clear anymore. Obsession by fascination. You just can't see. Judas was there. He was sick. He was fascinated by these things. And James is trying to ponder with him. He's asking back, and Judas continues. I have the impression that the Messiah does not consider the opportunities, and we highlighted words that we use a lot. Oh, opportunities. Today, some religious scholars drew my attention and made me feel the futility of always preaching the gospel to the most ignorant and unqualified. Indeed, the needs of the people require a forceful and bold leader. So one, he was looking for that relationship of I give something and I get something back, called opportunities. Oh, I'll do something for you and you do something for me, and together we're going to get there and we're going to grow and we're going to climb, the hierarchy ladder, or in our homes we do exchanges. And when we help others, we're like, what? What do you do on your Saturday? Unimportant. What do you get with that, going to the homeless? Oh, I get nothing. Why do you do it? Back at Jesus' times, even worse. Even worse, because he was the Messiah. He was performing miracles in front of people's eyes. And he was making a lot of people angry because they wanted something from Jesus. And Jesus said, not from me. But they wanted it. They wanted Jesus in the temple. And Jesus said, no, thank you. there won't be this relationship of opportunities. And what do we think about our needs to have this forceful and bold leader? Interesting, so current to our times. We feel that we need leadership in positions, you can name it. It could be in schools, it could be at, the public office, the president, Congress, everywhere we go. We feel that our leadership needs to be represented by people that are very strong. And if they come and say things this way, it's like, oh yes, we will vote for that person because they are strong. And the meek and the loving are disregarded. That's in us. That's in us. And I'll give you such a silly example, but in our homes, when we are irritated, what do we immediately do? We raise our voices, right? We're like, oh, and then the voice just escalates louder and louder and louder because we think that that's how we impose ourselves. Our voices just go louder and louder and louder, sometimes oppressing a child. Like babies, and you can hear parents losing their minds. It's like a toddler, a temper tantrum, and we're like, wow, stop this. Because we still believe this, that to be a leader, we need to be forceful and bold. So are we feeling Judas? Judas is like, he's having all these thoughts in his mind on a day that Jesus is being clamored, and he is thinking, I can do better. We need a leader that can be stronger. This thing about being peace and loving and helping the more needy. No. And then he questions, can we expect such change without drawing the interest and attention of those in power? So Judas was willing to do anything. At this point, he is just like, I'll do anything just to draw that attention. If we had to extrapolate, what was Judas lacking? When you need to call attention of others, when you need to have these people, certify you, kind of. What is it lacking for Judas? It's lacking self-esteem. He felt that he had to, be so big to really compensate in how he felt within him. So small. Self-esteem is a big problem, dear friends. It is what makes this exacerbated pride in us, vanity, this need for others to tell us, you're doing well. It's not enough that Jesus tells us. Because Jesus invites us, come on, you can do it. You're so good. Do it, do it, do it. But we don't believe. And then, yes, we need big things on the outside to receive this compensation, this interest and attention of the power. In our families, it happens all in our families. That's where it starts. When you have somebody that comes, oh, you need to be friends with so-and-so because they are driving a Mercedes. And you're like, really? Just because I'm driving, a Civic, you really had to come here and poke at me? If my self-esteem is low, that will hurt. Like, I will feel like I need to have that Mercedes so I can prove to so-and-so that I can have it. For Jesus, They didn't have anything to poke at him. Oh, Jesus, you need to have a robe covered in gold. And he's like, no, thank you. Jesus, change your shoes. No, thank you. Jesus, you're going to have a different, clothes to wear. You wear the same thing. No, thank you. He was happy. Sitting at Peter's home, having conversations. What we thought were conversations were more like teachings. Judas continues. He says, we saw today how the people of Jerusalem covered the Lord's path with palms due to their admiration and their affection. We need, however, to impose the figure of the Messiah. We have to impose. We need. Look at Judas, so lost. We need to impose the figure of the Messiah on the authorities of the provincial court and temple so that we can take advantage of this outpouring of affection. I mean, how sick is this? He was trying to take advantage of the demonstrations at that point of love from the people. He was trying to take advantage of that to do something else. Unbelievable. So sick. Jesus received the popular tribute without taking part in the feverish enthusiasm of who surrounded him, which is a reason for us to multiply our efforts in his place. Let's read that again. Which is a reason for us to multiply our efforts in his place so that our position of superiority will be recognized in proper time. This was somebody that was with Jesus on all his preachings, walking up and down, day and night, and he still thought that he could do more than the governor of the planet. So when Jesus comes and tells us, go do the good every single day, are we being Judas and saying, who knows that? I need to do something else because I know what's good for me. Because that's what we do. If it's good for us, we are like, yay, thank you, Jesus. If we don't agree with it, we rebel. We say, no, thank you. I know better. And then we think Judas is the only one that did these things. But in reality, we're doing it every day. And now he had a plan. All of this, he already has a plan. It's like chess. He is talking to James, measuring the next steps, and now he's going to disclose the steps. He says, I will be questioned today by affluent friends from Jerusalem's political circles. I will do everything possible to establish agreements with the senior officials and important men to develop a new movement toward the Messiah's teachings. So he thought he had a game plan. Jesus already knew. I mean, Jesus knows everything. He knew before he came. And here is Judas, fascinated. It is an obsession. Thinking he's in control. But who is in control? God. Judas is not in control. We are not in control. We have free will. And we get confused about free will because we think, because we have free will, we can do whatever we want. And that is kind of true within the safeguards of God, right? We love that analogy when we're driving on a highway. You can drive on the highway. You can go left. You can go in the middle. You can go on the right. You can move here and there. But we have those safeguards on the side so we don't totally fall. It's right there. It's always following us on the highway. And that's God for us. It gives us free will to shift gears, to go faster or slower. But God always keeping us safe. And then James tells Judas, Judas, careful what you do. Will not the use of transitory powers of this world without a justification for using such resource be disrespectful of Jesus' authority? Doesn't the Master have the vision to plumb and understand our hearts? He received a good word from James, but he was still disregarding. It's incredible. It is so incredible to look at this story and say, my goodness, this happens to us all the time. I'm sure it happens to you guys. It definitely happens to me. I come here to the Spirit Center. It's been a long time, and I pray that it will be much more years to come. And I sit here, and I hear the voices through the speakers of the good spirits. And I'm like, my goodness, I did this yesterday and now I can realign. Like I feel the call. The good spirits send us messages every time we're sitting here or through a person. It doesn't have to be here. Sometimes somebody comes to us and gives us a good word that we need. Just like James is doing with Judas. Judas, wake up. Do you think you're bigger than Jesus? You don't know that, you don't think Jesus understands our hearts and our needs? The habit of the clergy and the robes of the Roman dignitaries are garments for the earth. This is still James. The teachings of the master are from heaven, and it would be a sacrilege to mix its purity with the corrupted organizations of this world. After all, we cannot be wiser or more loving than Jesus. James is right. He's telling us at this very moment, Jesus knows what we need. One day we're going to be a spirit like Jesus. We are working towards it. But today, Jesus is our guide and model. So he knows what we need. He knows the best path and the best opportunity for humankind's conversion. Success in this world is full of traps for the spirit, and among them, it is possible that we become transformed into some outrageous version of the truth that the Master represents. Wonderful. We thank James for these words. James bringing to us that we are on the best path. We just need to work on it. What happened? We know what happened. None of this worked. Judas was lost on his obsession. Kept thinking and thinking. See, so interesting. Spent the night overcome with distressing concerns. Again, the persistent negative thoughts. This one idea that goes over and 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 over again. That's a sign of obsession. When we talk to somebody and they keep reliving something negative, oh, this happened to me, or this happened to me, and then next week you meet the person, they're like again and again and again and again, and then you're just like, oh my God, why is this person just talking about this all the time? It's signs of obsession. Wouldn't it be better to accelerate the triumph of Christianity in this world? By making use of the Messiah's doctrine, he could take into his hands the reins of the movement of renewal, while Jesus, through his goodness and humility, would be remembered as a living symbol of the new idea. Imagine this. His plan was like, I will be the CEO of the planet, and Jesus will be the PR, the public relation, the face, right? Judas is thinking he is going to do it all. He is now the new governor, and Jesus is just the face. How crazy. And the dawn came, found him decided, drunk with his illusory dreams. He would turn in the master to those in power in exchange for his official nomination to direct the activity of his companions. He would satisfy his ambitions, seemingly just with the objective of organizing the Christian victory among his people. After he attained the high position he was counting on, he would free Jesus and use his spiritual gifts to convert his prestigious friends and protectors. He thought that he was going to do this exchange. We know the story. Do the exchange, get 30 coins back, let them know where Jesus is, and then he was going to use this, what he called goodwill, because of this relationship. He was going to be able to get Jesus out, and everybody would be happy, and he would be the controlling person of the planet, and Jesus would be the face. And that was Judas' plan. He would be the savior, right? He is saving Jesus. He's saving the planet. Everybody's happy. He just forgot that the plan is not his. The plan is from God. Through Jesus. But the plan is from God. I was reading this morning, just right before the center, a description of Chico having the Emmanuel put like a mental picture for him to understand the size of the universe. And because Chico was like, but Emmanuel, I don't understand. He's like, you can't understand. It's too big. And he pressed on Emmanuel. Like, but I want to. And Emmanuel started showing. This is planet Earth. This is the sun. And this is, the galaxy. And he was showing to him how big it is. It got to a point that Chico said, just take me back. It's too much. I just want to go back and have my coffee. It's so funny. He's like, you're right, Emmanuel. I can't understand the grandeur of God's creation. We are so tiny. And we think we know it all. There is even a name for this. It's called the Judas syndrome. It's this know-it-all feeling. It's when we think that, we have a better plan than God. God says, you're going to come in this family. You're supposed to be a mother, a father, a brother, a sister, an aunt, name it. And we're like, not this time, because I know better. We were studying a chapter called Octavius' Fall just recently, where he was trained in the spiritual realm for 40 years before he reincarnated. Trained for 40 years, and he would come prepared. He would come with the mediumship gift, and he would come together with 6 spirits to help him, like higher spirits. And what did he do? neglected them and neglected his whole reincarnation because he thought he knew better. We forget what we're meant to do. Why do we forget? Vanity. Just like Judas. The price of vanity lay in wait for his excessive ambition. The Judas syndrome. Excessive vanity. Know it all. So how do we finalize this, dear friends, for us today? We bring ourselves back to our master. Humble, loving, peaceful, meek. There's no know-it-all in Jesus, even though he does know a lot. We don't even know how much he knows because that only God knows. But for Jesus to be the governor of this planet, we can agree that he knows a lot. We cannot even, barely bake a cake without a recipe. Imagine creating a planet. So he knows it all. And he tells us, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Why? Because he is our guide and model. We cannot look at other human beings just like us or the disciples and put them as our models because they're growing like us. Yes, there's so much good happening in our planet. Yes, there are so many people that will inspire us. But when we say, who is our role model? It's Jesus. And if it's not Jesus, it has to be Jesus. Because he knows more than anybody in this planet. So we're thankful for the people that come. We're thankful for the good spirits, the mentors. They're always here reminding us that our guiding model is Jesus. That's why they bring these books. Accounts from Jesus' times for us to learn what would Jesus do in certain cases. So today we walk out of here with two main highlights. One, let us look within us, find these points that are more aligned with Judas than with Jesus, and let us start working on it. We all have it, so it's okay. This is not like, oh my God, now I'm ruined. Because even Judas wasn't ruined. I mean, Judas did suicide. And who was there to help him? Jesus. And later on, Mother Mary. I mean, Judas couldn't see Mother Mary, but she was there talking to him. So we are all rescued. All of us. And then we have our redemptive work. Judas had his too. We know Joan of Arc is his reincarnation. There's redemptive work for all of us. So it's okay. So we work on our Judas syndrome. And we walk out today, out of here, with certainty that Jesus is our guiding model. That Jesus is here for every single one of us, pushing us to new boundaries, for us to conquer our shortcomings and just fly high as spirits. What a call for us, right? To be empowered, to realign, to be strengthened. So now the passive session will be a little different because we are in this therapeutic process with Master Jesus. We're going to play the encounter with Jesus as our way of rebalancing ourselves. Okay? It's important for us to feel the presence of the spirit doctors, the nurses, the therapists who come to align us. In this encounter with Jesus that we're going to play, we're all going to sit down and feel the treatment directly from the Master, because he knows us personally, every single one of us. Make no mistake. He knows us. He has a baby monitor on us. He knows precisely what we need, and we can talk with him whenever we want. If good parents like Nate and Michelle are constantly validating Lucy's needs, imagine Jesus. All right, so let us do this and receive the passes.
You already know how to conduct yourself. Let us begin this new visualization. A good position. Breathe. Always slowly. As you breathe, relax. Let go all of your tensions. Allow your body to release you. Spirit. The only way you can do this is by relaxing. Begin relaxing. As you breathe in a tranquil rhythm. Modern life causes us many pressures of a psychosocial nature that make us lose our harmony. Conflicts of various origins that unbalance us. Difficulties, which are in fact existential challenges that discourage us. But now, you will be able to free yourself from all these afflictions by sending to your unconscious and a mental reprogramming everything that is necessary for a healthy and harmonious existence. Visualize a mountain. Visualize a mountain, or a mount, or a range of mountains, whatever is familiar to you. Visualize it. Now, transfer yourself there. It is nighttime. Nature is festive. And you are at the top of the mountain. Let your eyes drop and reach the horizon. And you can still notice the last rays of sunshine. Note the other mountains are already in darkness. And the sky full of stars. Observe. You are alone. We are rarely alone. And now, you are God fills the universe and is beyond it. At this moment, you can feel him closer. Let him penetrate you. At a distance, you can hear the music made by the wind, the various sounds of nature. And you are all alone on this immense mountain or in the place of your choice. Walk slowly, absorbing the oxygen, nature's purest and most rarefied oxygen. Breathe it in. Let yourself be filled by this blessing that maintains organic life, all life on earth. Breathe in gently. Hold it. Breathe out. Look at the sky once again. You might identify something if you are familiar with it. But taking your eyes down in a straight line, you can see in front of you, at a long distance, a star that is moving. You can see a moving star. Observe it. It is shining brightly. It is coming towards you, and you are dazzled. As you contemplate it, it is coming closer and closer. And now, it's only yards away. It has the size of a human body, and it has become one. Observe this body, the long robes, the white material, the stoic head, surrounded by hair with combs of a honey-colored light, or of golden color. The beard over the slim chest, mixed with his hair, the strong nose. Observe the lips, full lips, slightly open, and the eyes like two torches. The ample forehead. You know him. It is Jesus. It is Jesus who has come closer to you. Observe him. There he is. He comes a little closer, and you see him in all his glory, irradiating a gentle light. He looks at you. The expression is one of tenderness. There is an air of melancholy, and he emanates much love. He seems to say to you without words, ask me for something. I have come to help you. Ask me for something. This is a moment, a very important moment in your life. Don't ask for trivial things. Meditate on something with great meaning, something profound, something great. And when I count to 3, ask Him for it. Be brief, without justifications, without explanations. Think about what you will request. Think about it now. I will count. 1, 2, 3. Now, ask Him. He has already registered your request, and He opens His arms, coming closer to you, to embrace you. Embrace Him. Embrace Him. He melts in your arms. He comes into you, disappearing within you. Remember that He said, I am the light. And He is within you now, impregnating your immortal and triumphant spirit. Do not become melancholic anymore. Do not think about possible future disappointments. Do not allow yourself to hold unjustified, tormenting ideas. He is within you. So say this: I am life, and a triumphant life. Say it again, and once again. Say, I am happiness in life. Repeat it. I am fulfilled, and so I shall remain. Look at yourself. You are irradiating His light. Again, look at yourself. You are irradiating His light. Breathe it. Hold it. Breathe out. Say to yourself, nothing of a disturbing nature deserves my attention. When I return to the objective reality, I will conserve the presence of Jesus within me, and I shall help you happy. Even when I'm faced with the struggles of evolution, in view of the challenges, I will remain healthy as I am now. Project this onto your conscious mind and reprogram your life. You deserve to be happy, and you are happy. Now, it is time to get back. Come back to the place where your body is. Come back. Take it totally. Feel its organic sensation. Keeping your eyes closed. Breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out. Listen to the music in the air. Hear it. Open your eyes. Feel the sensation of well-being that you retain. Gently move. If you want to, you can nod. You can stretch. But whatever there might be, never lose touch with the sensation of well-being that you have brought back from the mountain or from the mount where you were. Hold on to this sensation and repeat the experience you're guided with, helping Jesus to answer your request. Through a positive attitude, an idealistic mind, a pacified heart, and thanks to the inner change for the better that you will make in this very existence, so that you can be happy.
Thank you, dear Master Jesus, for this loving treatment. We visualize our homes enveloped in your light. And we want to walk with you throughout this day and every day for the rest of our immortality. We pray for those that have their names in the book of prayer. May they feel your presence. For those who are home, could not be here, may they feel the presence of yours in your loving messengers. We pray for spirits who commit suicide. May they feel the presence of Mother Mary enveloping them in renewal, for a new beginning is always ahead of us. In deep gratitude for this moment, we embrace you. Thank you, Master. And so be it. All right, let us receive our water and drink it with intention, for the remedies are in for us, for those who are here on the internet. Thank you very much for your company, for your kindness. We wish you a beautiful day and night, and we look forward to the next session.